Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna Coles, and this morning we're visiting with Dr. Crocker. She's at the University of Kentucky with forestry there with extension. And one of those things that people might want to do is look for mushrooms.
They are these little hidden gems that you might not see, but then when you start to look for them, there is an astounding diversity of different fungi in our environment and mushrooms that you might find. And so every mushroom you see is the fruiting body of a fungus. So in the same way that a tree might produce fruit that has seeds in it, that mushroom is the fruit of a fungus, and it's producing spores that are how that fungus reproduces, reaches new areas. And in different times of year, you'll see different mushrooms. And I think it's just really interesting to learn about them.
But I think that's the important part, is to learn about them, to know what mushrooms would be active at that particular time. And then, of course, everybody asks, can I eat this mushroom? But it's important to know which ones are edible before you go to the woods.
It is, and it's really tricky because there's no kind of simple answer to, is this mushroom edible or not? What you really need to know is, what is that mushroom? You've got to confidently identify that mushroom to species. There's no trick or easy test that you can conduct in the kitchen. There's a lot of different mushrooms out there, and there are a lot of different toxins and ways that different mushrooms can make you sick. And the tricky part about knowing whether or not a mushroom is safe to eat is that there are lots of different ways that people can get sick from eating mushrooms. Maybe they ate something that was toxic. And we do have mushrooms in this area that could kill someone with just a few bites, but those are pretty rare. Most of them just make people very ill. And are not something you want to do. You can buy great mushrooms in the grocery store. Why do you want to risk even worrying about that? But there's also other ways that they can make people sick. People can have allergies to mushrooms. I know a lot of people love morels. Other people are allergic to them and can't eat them. Chicken of the woods is a popular foraged mushroom, but some people get really sick when they eat those, just like people are allergic to any food. In addition, how you prepare those is really important. Morels, very sought after mushroom, but if you don't cook them, they can make you ill. So just because something is considered broadly safe doesn't mean it's going to be safe for you or safe under any condition. In fact, the most common way that people get sick when they eat mushrooms is that they eat mushrooms that weren't stored properly to begin with. And so those mushrooms got some contamination, they're growing in the soil, there's lots of different ways that can happen, and then they got sick from them. But of course, some of them can interact with the medications that people might be taking. So it's good to be cautious. Learn about what are the mushrooms that they're commonly seeing. Don't go out there and try to pick everything and then figure out if you can eat it. Instead, talk with knowledgeable foragers in your area, learn from them, figure out what are the mushrooms that are easy to identify, that grow in your area, and how can you identify them with complete certainty, 100%, you know that it's this and not something that could make you sick. There's lots of great mushroom cultivation that goes on in this area too, so if you are not 100% confident in your identification, go buy some mushrooms, go buy some shiitakes, some oysters from a local producer.
If you feel confident and you would like to go forage, there are probably some tips that people need to think about.
And every different area is going to have different rules for that. So some natural areas will let you forage and take a certain amount. Others do not allow that. And so it's really important to always check where you're going and make sure you're following those rules. If you're on someone's property, making sure that you're communicating them and following whatever they have set out as well. And if you are out there collecting mushrooms, I really encourage everyone to take into account everything about that, not just picking a mushroom, but look at where it's growing, look at what it's growing on, how it's growing in that environment. All of those are really useful tools to tell you what it is. Whether it's joining some social media groups, learning through that, getting some books, there's lots of fantastic ways to learn more. We have a couple different publications. One that is entitled, "Don't Eat Those Wild Mushrooms Unless You Know What You're Doing." And then we have a new publication, Best Practices in Mushroom Foraging, about what are the regulations in different natural areas across the state for can you collect mushrooms there or not.
Thanks for watching and have a great day.